I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. Today, we're going to be doing something special. We're going to be talking about the most amazing marketing book ever. Oh, look, are there any copies out there? Look, there we go. So we've got, what's it, 37 authors, and we've got 4 of them with me today. So if we just get you to introduce yourself, Laura.
Hi, my name is Laura Doman. I wrote Chapter 11, which is all about leveraging videos and YouTube. And I am living in Atlanta, Georgia. I have a background in corporate IT. I'm now actually an on-camera actress and voice actor, which is what all this is about behind me.
Excellent.
And video brings it all together.
Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Apolinsky. I am a content coach, and I wrote Chapter 6 on bringing the customer experience to the digital front. And I am really excited to be chatting more about this book and all the amazing ideas that are in this book.
And Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna Bravington, co-founder of Those That Dare, marketing strategist. I took on connecting to emotions through experiential marketing, bit of an interesting chapter. But I used to work in gaming, so I head up digital marketing at Game, and there's a lot of experiences to be had there. So I thought I could tackle it with fairly good confidence because we did a lot of experiences and connecting with the community, which is one of my favourite things. Communities are wonderful.
And Sandy.
Hi, I'm Sandy Rodriguez, and I wrote the chapter on using promotional products more effectively because I've been in that industry for more than 30 years and thought what I had learned would be of good value.
And last but not least, Cami.
Hi, guys. I am Cami Hoyza, and I wrote the chapter on social media strategy about how to future-proof your social media strategy because it's always changing.
Excellent. So, can we get a shot of you all with your books in your hand? Have you all got?
Of course, we do.
Excellent. That's brilliant. So, I think it's just an amazing idea of you all coming together and creating a book based on everybody adding something to the structure of the book. Is it worth just talking about a little bit about the actual chapter that you went through? So, Laura, do you want to talk about that?
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I actually am writing about 2 different subjects that come together, videos and YouTube. And with YouTube, I talk a lot about how to leverage the videos that you create. So there's a lot of focus about SEO and keywords and how to make sure that you're being found. But a good bulk of the other part of the strategy is to make sure that those videos are something that people are going to want to stop scrolling and watch. Now, content is going to be content, and it varies depending on what the client wants. And I don't touch so much upon content. There are plenty of other authors who do talk about that much better than I ever could. Instead, what I do is focus in on the delivery, because that's what people are going to be watching. And delivery is usually somebody speaking on camera, or maybe it's just their voice that's going to be accompanying some kind of film or animation or something else that is going to explain what their video is all about. So the question is, how do you get people to really pay attention? These days, you only have a few seconds to really get them to stop scrolling. So you got to come out of that gate very, very strong. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do something really strange or wild, but you have to make it relevant so that they see that there's something interesting. And for most of us, we're not really used to being in front of a camera. It's a really frightening proposition. It's a lot like public speaking, which I think a lot of people would remember there's like one of the top fears, if not the top fear that anybody holds. And furthermore, you're not even talking to a human being. You're talking to a little light, and there might be a lot of bright lights that are also coming in at you and people around, and it can be quite confusing. So what I try to do is to help people with 2 different areas. First of all, how to prepare and relax before you're going on camera. Because if you're all uptight and nervous and you don't know what to say and you look like that deer in the proverbial headlights, you're not going to do well and people aren't going to pay attention. And the other part would be some acting tips on how to become a little more charismatic on camera. so that people understand what you're saying. You're not overwhelming the message by giving them distractions with what's going on behind you or what you're wearing or too much hand movement, for example, but that they can focus on you. So if I'm just going to kind of hone in on a few things, let me just say this. The trick to anything, if you're talking about public speaking, if you're talking about video or voiceover, is to talk to one person. And you're not talking at them, you're talking with them. So how do you do this on camera? Well, just imagine that you're talking to your best friend, somebody who really likes you, cares about you, wants to hear your message. If it helps, you can even put a little picture of them right next to that camera lens, just so that you remember you're talking to an individual. Because the audience is usually going to be one person at a time, and they're going to want to feel like you're talking directly to them. So be conversational, be yourself. Don't worry about being perfect, because guess what? Most of us aren't. And perfection is boring anyways, which is what I think a lot of people are going to find out with AI. People want the human element. So give it to them. Don't be afraid to stumble if you have to, laugh, show what your real life is like. Also, and you let me know when we're getting close to my time limit here. Understand, okay, understand, because I could talk forever. Understand,
I realize that, Laura.
I kind of do this for a living, but understand also what kind of a frame you're dealing with. And then that'll be my last point. You know, you're not dealing in a big room where people use their peripheral vision. They only see you in a box, maybe this big, that high. So just remember that anything small you do is going to look large. And any fast or wild movement like your hands can be distracting. So my chapter kind of goes into all of that, tells you the kind of videos that are appropriate for different types of social media, and then some guidelines to really help you rock them.
Laura, thanks. That's been excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Lisa, do you want to go next?
Absolutely. So I wrote chapter 6, which is bringing the customer experience to the digital front. Now, most people know me as a content coach, and I've been dubbed by Forbes as America's digital content futurist. This is my 4th book. My 3 books are behind me that I've already published. And you might think, what does content have to do with customer experience? Those don't seem related, but are they? So when we think about customer experience, we're thinking about how we show up for our prospects and what kind of community we are creating for our prospects. And community is very, very important right now. When we create a community with a great customer experience, we are inviting people in to connect so that there's that sense of belonging to the brand, Mark Schaefer's last book. And there is conversation that happens. And when we create conversation, we are in fact creating content about our brand. We're simply allowing our customers to drive that content creation process. The tips that I have in the book are things that I talk to my coaching clients about all the time. Start as you mean to go. How are you setting up digital expectations with your customers, AKA your community, whether it's a prospect or someone who's been a customer for a long period of time, whether they become a customer in a day or a decade? What kind of digital expectation are you creating for your community so they understand how things will go? You don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, I'll get back to you in 2 hours, but do share what the expectation is so they can manage that and they know when to expect, whether it's a follow-up, an email, their order, anything like that. Do that expectation up front. The second thing, and I've heard a lot of people talk about, one of the tips in my chapter is around how you are creating that experience for pre, during, and post. So again, it ties into that digital expectation. Before, you used to be able to just wait until they became a customer on your radar. Now they're making all sorts of judgments about you well before they ever actually become even a prospect for your products and services. So again, what kind of community are you creating to help people understand who you work with, what problem you solve, and how you do it better, faster, more complete, cheaper than anybody else in the space? And what are the results that they are going to get by working with you? So again, you can be managing those considerations and that future state of success well before they ever even become a client, well before they become a customer of yours. And the last thing, and again, there are several tips in my chapter, but the last thing that I think is really important is you have to think about every single person in your organization as kind of a branch outreach of you. So are they aligned with your business goals? Are they aligned with your brand purpose? Do they understand what your brand purpose is? And this is looking at your internal community, how you set up your internal community, how that then spills over into your customer base, your prospect base, and how it affects the conversations and how you are showing up for that community. And again, that is also around content. You have to be sharing your brand purpose with your internal community as well as your external community. My next book that's coming out at the end of the year, The Greatest Personal Brand Story Ever Told, talks about that idea of ambassadors, sending out people to evangelize on your behalf. And it has to start from within. You have to have clarity around who you are, what problem you solve, and what future state of success you are trying to achieve for your prospects.
Excellent. Lisa, thank you so much. Just to say that the person that's making the comments who's got the LinkedIn user, the reason why that comes up as LinkedIn user, not your name, is that you need to change your settings in LinkedIn to say that you're willing to share data with third parties. That's just so you know. You may not want to, but if you do, it comes up with your name. Anna.
Well, my chapter was a bit of a hard one to fit into 10 because experiential marketing could be most things. It covers what Lisa's just been talking about the community. Experiences could be comments and just people engaging in your content. So it was a really hard one to condense into about 10 points, because an experience is anything that a user does that maybe is slightly, it's outside of the purchasing sort of funnel. It's about engaging with them across the community. I think experiential people think of events, big events that people go to, but they're not. The thing that I want to get over my chapter is actually they can be small little experiences that constantly just delight people. A few examples I give in my book is BEMA, who's a British Interactive Media Association that I'm a member of. And I love the fact that just throughout the month, they do little Zoom calls and we all set them up amongst the members. They're not led by the company. And we just set these Zoom calls up, and they're all little experiences where we share our knowledge and we get lots of information and help each other. And that costs nothing. It costs a few people's time. And I think people think that they've got to put on a big conference. And actually, some of the best experiences are really personal. I mean, us in the Rise community, being in the Rise community is a really lovely experience. Writing this book together is a lovely experience. So in some ways, that's Mark Schaefer's marketing to us, because we all buy his books. We follow him, and for us, the experience that he provides is absolutely amazing. And I hope that people will look at the examples. I've given examples of Trini London where people actually set up their own groups, and then she helped just brand them and drive traffic to them. Just how can we do something that's maybe a little bit above and beyond the sales cycle, that we can go, this is going to be memorable. And then the great thing about experiences is when people have had a really nice time or really enjoyed themselves, they'll share that content and create user-generated content, which goes back once again to Lisa, that sort of content. They're creating the content for you. This is the great thing about the book. all of our chapters are linked, so there's my one and there's Lisa's one about community, and they're all so linked because it's not separate, it's not siloed, each one informs the other. And so I do urge people to read a lot of the different chapters and see how they piece together, because they'll find that actually customer experience, community, user generated content, experiential marketing all go very, very similarly together. And it works really nicely.
One of the things that I like, Anna, is the fact that there's this lovely flow and story, as if someone was actually starting at the front of the book and they were writing it themselves all the way through. It's not like silo, 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 silo.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you must have done a lot in terms of either listening to people what they're going to, or you must have done something to enable that.
I think it was probably more the editing process,
Right.
because
the editors were great.
Yeah.
we sort of all worked on our things. Yeah. Yeah, we all worked sort of separately, but I think from the book design, with coming up with those topics, I think Mark and the editors knew kind of what fitted together as well. So we had sort of harmonious topics, and then we all kind of wrote separately, normally in a panic at the last minute. I'm a writer, and I couldn't get 1,500 words down. It was so hard. And then we sort of threw it at the editors. Please work your magic. And they sort of made it all flow and lovely, and
it comes back and you go,
and everything. So
yeah, and I don't know about anybody else, but I've written several books, and I had was in the final phases of my fourth book, and this was the most terrifying experience, because I'm like, these have to be the best 1,500 words that I've ever written in the history of the universe. I felt like a cat pooping razors in a sea of rocking chairs. Like, this was just banana sandwiches scary for me, but it was also awesome. I mean, I learned a lot. So
that's quite a visual.
Yeah, it's a metaphor that I'm not going to get out of my mind.
You can R&D that, Robin Duplicate.
So it's funny, everybody had a different experience with this. For me, I banged out that chapter, sent it off to the editor, and then I was like, wait, I should have sat on that. I know I'm going to want to make edits. And sure enough, there are changes I would make in my chapter now on promotional products, which you're all talking about the flow. And how the heck does promotional products fit into this whole digital marketing world today? And I almost didn't make it in the book. I had to do a pretty hefty pitch to Mark about the importance of promotional products as part of a solid marketing plan. And these ladies all know that came into play, especially Cammie, at the end, because we all have stickers and note cards that are branded to send out now, because it is still a key part. Anna and Lisa have talked about community. And one of the things that makes a community feel tight together is branded stuff, merch, swag, whatever you want to call it. So if you think about one really big example is Harley Davidson. Man, those guys like their Harley stuff, right? Everything they do has got to be branded Harley. And I'm not a cycle gal, but it's just, they're a very good example of it. So, I made my appeal to Mark about the importance of it, and he said, okay, I understand. So it may be old school, but it has not stopped being effective in marketing. Now, that being said, the reason I wanted to write this chapter is because I've been in this industry since 1991. And so pre-internet sales kinds of time, where it was Yellow Pages ads to get your business name out there. And definitely promotional products were a key part of that, right? Because you couldn't just go to the internet. But when the internet came along and you started being able to just go on there and buy stuff yourself instead of working through a distributor such as myself, people just went, well, that's cheap, I'll buy that. Well, that's cheap, I'll buy that. Everybody needs pens. Everybody will appreciate a mug. And there stopped being thought and intention about what was being given out. And so my chapter sets out to correct that misperception. Yeah, it's cheap. But a story I like to tell is you're writing with that cheap pen that doesn't write very well, and now you're mad at it and you're going to throw it in the trash. What's the last thing you see as that pen is going into the trash can? It's the logo. And what do they think of your brand as they throw your cheap pen into the trash? It's not good. So the tips that I bring on board in my chapter address the considerations you should give, whether you work with me or buying on the internet or some other distributor, however you do it, you definitely want to consider more than the price tag. It has to be who's receiving it. Why? What do you want them to do after they receive it? Is it commemorative? Is it because you're giving it as a thank you for a purchase or for signing up for something? Do you have to travel with it? You don't want to take big, heavy things with you if you have to travel. You've got to be more clever. Use things like pop sockets, which are very popular, and travel nicely because they're little. So there's a lot more considerations at play when it comes to the promotional products purchases. And that's what I set out to do in that chapter, was to give those considerations and just have people think, how does this fit into my overall marketing strategy? It's not just, I need to spend money on swag, right? It needs to be done with thought and intention and fit in with the rest of what you're doing in marketing your brand, whether it's a personal brand, a business brand, an organization, doesn't matter. It has to fit, and it has to be something that people want to keep. Another story I tell in my chapter is I did a little hard-sided, well, I've got it right here. It's a little hard-sided first aid kit. And this company has changed names, I think, 3 times since I did this now. But I still carry this sample of it with their brand on it, which, yes, it's starting to finally wear off a little bit. But this is probably 20 years old. Now, I would like to know any other marketing method that you could use that will put your brand in front of someone for 20 years, because I don't know what it is if it's out there. So promotional products can be extremely effective to keep your name in front of your clients and prospects, more so than almost anything else, if you choose wisely.
Sandy, thank you so much for that. And it's interesting to know that you are able to pitch to Mark Schaefer and get him to accept something. So that's...
Well, I didn't actually. We did the artwork, but there was another author who actually donated those 2 pieces for us, and I was not going to get in the way of donations of things. So, but it is one of the things that I do.
And
Cami, do you want to go through your chapter 14, I think?
Yeah, actually, thank you. I will. But before I do, I just want to take this pin out because I got this from Sandy. And we were at... Sorry, everybody wanted this pen.
Yes.
She brought in a bunch of colored pens, and we were signing books and things. And so this has become my book signing pen. And so I mean, pens. So she kind of gave pens a bad name. I think pens actually work sometimes. Anyway, that being said, I like what she said because merch is important. And by the way, in social media, it's important too. So a lot of the bigger stars and people like that, they make a lot of their money off of merch. I would say like we have hundreds of dollars, maybe more, of Taylor Swift merch in my house. Just saying. And every time she comes out with something new, here we are. Yeah. So yeah, I have 3 teenagers. So there you go. Yes. So I think my daughter's entire wardrobe is furnished by Taylor Swift, the queen, as we call her in my house. But that brings me to social media, which is what I talk about as social media strategy in the book. And social media is so broad these days. It used to be like you had a blog and you had like, I remember when Twitter came out and I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep up with a blog and Twitter? By the way, that's not, it's crazy now. So there's so much that you have to do as a business owner. Should I be on TikTok? Should I be on Instagram? Should I be in all these places? And the answer is it depends on your audience. It depends on who you are connecting with. And so again, the thread that you'll find that runs through this entire book is community and community building. And so how you know where you need to be on social media is by where your community is gathering. So you want to be on all the channels that they are on. Absolutely, 100%. And so you don't need to mess around with TikTok if your audience really isn't spending a lot of time there. There's really no reason for it. I know some people who solely focus on LinkedIn because they're more of a B2B brand, and maybe they'll do some advertising on Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, because guess what? All of those CEOs, they don't really go on LinkedIn that much, but they definitely are on Facebook looking at their grandkids' information. So if you can bring an ad in front of them while they're looking at their grandkids' picture, it's a great place to get them where you can't get them anywhere else. So there's a couple of things like that that you need to keep in mind. Multi-channel, again, is really important. If you think about the current news environment, every news station, as you know, for journalists, you could used to go and just be a writer, but now you have to be a writer and you have to do a video and you have to put out a little graphic with it. So you definitely need to master those things. That multi-channel kind of thing is great, but you don't have to make the content 15 times. You have to just make one piece of content and create it for the specific channels in the format that those channels take. So I talk a lot about that in the book. I talk about the impact that something like ChatGPT and those kinds of things are having on social media. And really, the biggest thing I think is that people are going to expect more and more personalization. They're going to expect you to know who they are and create content that talks to them directly. And there's more and more tools that are allowing that to happen through social media, including bots and things like that. But you have to use them in a personalized way. So it's really a fine line. But in the end, the killer app is community. So that's it. I'll leave it there.
Cami, thank you so much for that. Can you all pick up your books again so everybody can see? So we've been talking about the most amazing marketing book ever, which has got, I need to read my notes. How many? It's got what?
36 authors.
36 experts,
authors, 350
10 countries, 750 years combined experience, 350 marketing ideas, and 5 sections on modern marketing. What a great idea. So thank you so much for coming on, Laura, Lisa, Anna, Sandy, and Cami coming on and talking about it. It's been awesome. I mean, you shared so much knowledge. I'm actually going to go and buy the book.
Oh, that's great.
Yay!
And hopefully
You're to write a
some other people will
review.
as well.
Yeah, don't forget the review.
Review.
Yeah, the review. Yes, we've trained them well, so they all need to do their
and
reviews.
anybody who's out there, if you get a copy of the book, please write authors a review.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what
Honest
book you
review,
read.
absolutely.
Please
Yeah.
leave a review. It really, really helps.
Paperback, Kindle, and audiobook, your choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so
Oh,
much
Laura,
for
thank
coming
you.
on and sharing your insight today. Thank you. And thank you for all the
Absolutely.
chat that we've had as well. So I appreciate that.
Thank you for having us. This
Thank
is
you.
wonderful.
Welcome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tim.
everybody. Bye.